Welcome to online instruction for stylistics. Topic for today's discussion is poetic license, its varieties and relationship with language anatomy. So let's see. The outline comprises of following agenda item, warm up. Under this section, I will be following to give people certain questions according to the purpose of the class and activate your mind and think about the purpose of classes. I will be discussing with you with the objective of the class. It will be an objective discussion. In the presentation stage, I will be presenting my idea about poetic license and anatomy of language, and in the post-reading activity we will be performing certain activities under the title of Do as Directed, and we will be finally discussing references. Objective discussion. By the end of the class, the student should be able to do the following. Attempt a quiz on poetic licenses and its varieties. Give an oral presentation on poetic license and its relation with language anatomy. Dear students, this class is significant because by the end of the class you will be able to support the exercise of poetic license in the text you are analyzing for stylistic effect. So this will enhance your understanding of the exercises of poetic license, and that the deviation that the author normally make from their norms are the norms of the language. So this is how the language class is significant. Questions. You often hear about the exercise of poetic license. What do you think of it means? And number 2, are there variety of poetic license? If yes, then what are they? Number 3, how can knowledge of language anatomy, the structure or levels on which language is organized, help you in understanding poetic license? And now let me present you some ideas about poetic license. First of all, definition. It is the poet's right to ignore rules and conventions generally observed by users of the language. Now, dear students, normally when we speak language, it has a grammar that we follow. But the literal figures, in order to achieve certain stylistic effects and in order to create a new concepts, may deviate from the language rules. They may transcend the language resources, and they may break certain rules. Now their right is recognized under the term poetic license. Now it is 2 types. Routine license. This is the traditional equipment of the versifier. Now what versifier means? Poet. Though a poet has traditional equipment for versification, that is already deviation from the normal language we speak in our daily conversation. Dear students, we know that in our conversation we do not use meter, we do not talk in a way that is rhymed. There is no rhythmic effect of our talk in normal day-to-day life conversation. And also, we do not use much of the figurative language, that is the language that is used in non-literal sense. For instance, metaphors and similes. We do not use a lot of them in general talk the way we use them in poetry. So this is how language of poetry is different from our daily life conversation. So we can see that the poetic language is already a deviation from the normal conversational language of our daily life. So this is a routine license that any port exercises. There are equipments that are available to a port, but they're available to every port. Out of specification. So the point is this sort of deviation is result of routine license. This is not creative license. On the other hand, you can now focus on point number B, that is creative license, whereby a port may transcend the limits of the language to explore and communicate new areas of experience. Now, dear students, as opposed to a routine license, by exercising creative licenses, a poet communicates his or her new areas of experience and that may create new concepts, and for this purpose they may break the language rules. Now, creative license is applied, or this is exercised when specific port is creating a specific task on specific occasion. So we clearly see that it is in contrast with the routine license. Routine license is exercised by every poet. The language of poetry is already different from conversational language. And in poetic language, we already have things that are not found in conversational language. For instance, meter, rhyme, rhythm, and such things. That is known as routine license. But the creative license is a license that is exercised by poets whereby they may transcend the limits of the language to explore and communicate new areas of experience. Now, this is important to know why poets exercise creative license. They do not do it without any reason. That is always reason, a purpose behind such deviation from the norms of the language, behind the exercise of the creative license. What is that purpose? They may need to create new concepts, and they may also need to maintain their meter. So for all these purposes, they may break the grammar rules, the language rules on all levels. We will shortly discuss these various levels of language on which it is organized and on which an exercise of the poetic license resulting in deviation from the norms of the language. Now, having said that, we realize that there is a limitation in degree of freedom and types of freedom exercise of poetic license. Let us consider this example. Will clarify the point. I doesn't and be liking he. Now every one of us can easily understand that the poetry comes across such violation of language. This is not creating any aesthetic effect. This is not giving us any new concept. This some a terrible mistake by some new learner of the language. So we do not see any literal purpose in such violations. We will never consider this result of poetic license that is exercised by some poet. Okay, so we can see that three rules have been violated. Number one, there is disagreement between the verbal part and the subject. The verbal part and the subject, for instance, does not agree with I. The subject is I. With I we do not, you doesn't. So there is disagreement between the verbal part, that is doesn't, and the subject, that is I. Okay. Second violation is be is negated by do. Now Note that any be form when we negate it, we will not use do. It is negated by not. For instance, what are the form of bees in present tense? The forms of be are number one is with singular, am with I, and are with plural. So you don't say I am doesn't, or you say I am not, and you don't say he doesn't is. You say he is not. You say they are not. And similarly in past, the forms of be are was and were like he was ill, they were ill. For negating these two sentences, we will be using not instead of doesn't or don't. You do not negate be with to. You negate them with not. For instance, he was not ill, they were not ill. So here the second mistake, as we can see that be is negated, we do that is wrong. And then the third violation is the pronoun he is the subjective case. Okay, for instance, I doesn't and be liking him. Instead of him, he has used here, So he is basically the subjective case, and we do not use he in the object place. In the object place or in the object slot, we normally prefer him. So this is again a mistake. So there are three clear mistakes, and we recognize the sentence not as exercise of poetic license, but as mistake made by some new learner of the language, some foreign learner of the language. Now, anatomy of language. Let me first read, then explain. Focus on point number one. If exercising poetic license means breaking the rule of the language on various levels on which it is organized, then it means that we must first investigate the levels on which language is organized, structured. Similarly, we must also first know the norms rules in order to know how they are deviated from. So dear students, it is the link between anatomy of language and the poetic license. Why are we discussing the anatomy of language? That is the structure of language or organization of language along with the poetic license, because if exercising poetic license means that the breaking of rules of language on various levels on which language is organized, then we must first explore what are the levels on which language is organized. Only then we can observe or exercise the poetic license on all those levels. But if you don't know about the levels at all, how can we know the poet has deviated on these levels? Similarly, if we do not know the norms of the language, if we don't know the rules of the language, how can we know or highlight that these rules have been broken, that they are deviation from these rules or norms? So the point is that it is important for us to first know the anatomy of language, the structure of language, in order to know how deviations occur or poetic license may be exercised on these levels. So we have the following three part language anatomy. Now you explain the anatomy of language or the structure of language or organization of language. We may have different theories about it. Different people's theories have theorized the anatomy of language differently. But we will be discussing this very useful three-partite model of language. In one have form, on the other hand you have semantics. Under the form you have grammar and lexicon, that is vocabulary. and as a result of this combination we have meaning, which is discussed in semantics. So when you have words stuck together, arranged together in grammatical structure, result is semantics. The result is meaning, which we discussed in semantics. So traditionally people prefer to these two-partite model for discussing structure of the language or its organization or anatomy. But this tripartite model, which also has realization, it has certain form, and it is very suitable to discuss here the anatomy of language, because we have realization. Vocabulary you have in mind in abstract form. The listener or the reader, how they capsulate language when you speak, when you write. So you have phonology and graphology. Phonology is level of realization of the spoken language, and graphology is realization of the written level of the language. So dear students, whatever language patterns you have in mind, no matter how refined and complex grammar you have in mind, no matter how large stock of vocabulary you have in mind, if you do not speak, there is no phonological realization, then you cannot communicate. So the realization level is important. Language is realized when someone speaks and when someone writes. So you can realize it on graphological level or on phonological level. So these two levels are the levels of realization are important and relevant here. So according to this tripartite model of language, we can see language as having three levels. One is the level of form, that is grammar and lexicon, and when they are combined they create meaning. So semantic level of language organization, and then of course these things are realized only when we speak or when we write. So this the realization level, that is phonological and grammatical level. Now by the end of the class the students are required these two things: attempt a quiz on poetic license and its varieties, give an oral presentation on poetic license and its relation with language anatomy.